Конечно, Ротвик, English was a lot of discussion. Good morning. My name is Archil Mikishidze. I'm a executive director of the Mikilazzi Foundation, and we are here to convene a working group meeting on dialogue on strategic communication, which is part of the larger project, National Convention on the EU in Georgia, which has been implemented since 2015. This particular session is fifth session on the strategic communication. The initial sessions were dedicated to the EU related strategic communication. Then the following discussions were focused on the NATO strategic communication, and in this process, first two separate strategies of communication on EU and on NATO were developed, and then it was agreed during these discussions to merge these two concepts, these two strategic documents into one. And we are here to discuss the draft of this comprehensive strategic communication document. The following the process, the further process of fine-tuning of this document involves, of course, the taking into account whatever comments will be offered by you here, and also we are looking forward to make it as relevant as possible for the government, particularly for the Office of the State Minister on European and Euro-Atlantic integration, which is coordinating this process within the government. This project is implemented by the Levan Mikilazzi Foundation in partnership with the Slovak Foreign Policy Association, and is funded by Slovak Aid and co-funded by Euro Foundation. We are very much grateful to the donors and sponsors of this project, given the importance of this document for Georgia. We have assembled here a pool of people, mostly from the civil society organizations, and also some international organizations based in Georgia are present here. Also grateful to their presence and look forward to hearing their comments on this draft. And of course, the final thanks will offer to our dear experts, but in advance, I would like to also thank them for whatever work they've done so far, and the dedication to continue this process and bring it to the end, so that we produce really quality and timely and quality document for Georgia. I'm pleased to share this table of chairman with Beka Modebadze, and Deputy Head of Strategic Communications Department in the State Minister's Office on European and Euro-Atlantic integration. Thank you very much for your participation in this discussion. And if you would like to offer a few words, welcoming words to the audience, and then we'll proceed to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating in the work of elaboration of this very, very important strategy. Thank you very much to our experts who've been actively involved in drafting this complex document. As you're aware, initially we started working on 2 separate documents, but finally, thanks to this group and thanks to these productive discussions that we had during our previous meeting, we decided to unite these 2 strategies and to have one comprehensive document on both issues regarding NATO and EU communications, considering that there are overlap between this process, values, or there are issues that can be communicated together. And us, as the coordinators of the implementation of this document, it will facilitate the process to monitor and to effectively implement the strategy. I think we should just kick off with the discussion and hear your thoughts. The public sector and the involved line ministries are also working on the improvement of this document, meaning providing us with their input, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MOD, Ministry of Defense, Prime Minister's Office, Ministry of Reconciliation. So the process is also going on in the public sector. And finally, we will consolidate the opinions of these 2 sectors and put together in one document, which will be done by us, I suppose. Thank you very much, and let's have a productive and interesting discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. We are really pleased to have one of the best minds in Georgia as an expert of this project. Georgi Muchaidze from Atlantic Council of Georgia has been working on the NATO section, NATO part of the document, and he will be presenting shortly his updated thoughts on this document, as long as he has already received during this process comments from various stakeholders. And also Ivane Shlipadze, facility for the implementation of the association agreement in Georgia. This is a EU-funded project, and we are also very much grateful to him for being part of this important process. So, Georgi, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for the very good introduction. First of all, let me thank the Michelade Foundation for taking this effort aboard and supporting this project. Also for to the State Minister's Office for support, involvement, and detailed cooperation during the process of the elaboration of this document. As you know, this is already the 3rd meeting, the first being on the general structure of the document. So we went kind of 3 small steps till 2 small steps, and this one being the 3rd one. As you remember, our approach was to, at the first meeting, to come up with a certain idea of the structure of the document, then discuss it within this joint group, and only afterwards to proceed with the substantial part of it. So that was our approach. It was not, one-sided kind of review, but offer our view, then discuss it at the first meeting, so gather the recommendations, then accordingly refine the structure and have the skeleton there, and then put the flesh on it. So that was from the very beginning our approach. And thank you very much for your involvement, very active involvement at the first meeting. Well, we have heard quite interesting. Some of them was controversial comments, but we went through it, and it's always good and thought-provoking to have that kind of a feedback. That means that there is a lot of interest and that a lot of engagement, and thank you for that. So the second meeting then, when we presented the first initial, maybe we can call it like the draft, I remember we have met also in this place, and there was quite some debate, not only on the structure of the document, but also on the name of the document, and also there was debate whether there should be the European Union integration membership strategy also involved in this document. So now as I start talking about the main changes that we are having in this document, and I'll try to give the overall view, and then I will pass the floor to my dear colleague, Wano, who have very much helped us in integrating the European Union part into it. So let me start with saying that the name of the strategy has changed, and that is the decision already to have the both European Union and NATO strategy in the same document, although in some ways, as our understanding is, there will be some different sections perhaps in the implementation plan of the document that is going to be elaborated later on. And another thing is another two things actually with the title is that it's a governmental strategy that is already in the name. So it's not a national strategy. It was discussion during the initial meetings. So it's going to be a governmental strategy, and it's going to be strategy saying mildly not on integration but on membership. So I think the Parliament in this regard set a very good tone when it's adopted the resolution regarding the Georgia's foreign course priority, and there in this document it's very clearly and in very bold letters and the spirit is said that it's about the membership, both in NATO and in European Union. So we follow that example, and that's why we have this title. So I'm not going to talk very much about the structure, because the structure in general has not changed, so the skeleton as agreed is there. I'm going through the text and telling you what exactly has been in general. We have this introduction version that has been streamlined, that has this value part in it, why this is happening, what is the background, what is the support, what kind of support for this strategy and for these two main priorities that are kind of a backbone for our foreign course is there. That's integration or membership into NATO and membership into European Union. And then we talk also about what initial efforts have been made in this respect, if any, and then what does this really strategy represent in comparison to the previous reports, and why this is unique and why this is so different. Then we, in the second part, as we agreed, we continue with having the strategic environment. So what we change in this part is streamlining more, add some European Union part of it, but I'm not going into the detail of the European part, as my colleague will talk about it in a more detailed way. So what are the challenges and what are the actual environment that shape our operational area? So what are the trends in this respect, and what are actually going on, what kind of the policies, approaches are adopted to cope with these threats and challenges. These are the actions from the European Union, NATO. There was the suggestion to the hybrid threat kind of development in terms of developing the documents from the NATO and the European Union side and the European Parliament side as well in it. So that's the second part of the second chapter of the first chapter actually. The first one is introduction, but the first chapter is the strategic environment. So then we go with the second, a very important chapter. I would say the basic chapter of this strategy that covers the basic goal, basic tasks and strategic approaches of the strategy. So what's the difference? The basic task is the major task, why there is a strategy, CRM, and what end state goal, what the main goal is struggling to attain. And then we have the tasks of the strategy, so the tasks that fell under general goal. We used to have the 5 or 6 ones, and now we have the 5 of them. We just try to merge, take out some repetitions and streamline, but the sense and the spirit still remains. And then a very important part of it, the basic narrative on the national level and basic narrative on the international level. So as we discussed the last time, we thought, coming from our discussion, is still very useful to retain separately the national level narrative and the major international level narrative. Because as you will see in the text, the approach, even we are talking about, when we are talking about strategic approaches, are put into 2 different sections. It's on the national level, on the international level, as the strategy will be implemented not only internally in Georgia, but also through our efforts and major support of our foreign agency and its diplomatic representations in the different countries of European Union and the NATO. So then comes the strategic approaches on 2 levels, as I said, and what we have done here is the major changes is to integrate some European Union part of it, both on the national and the international level, just streamline some wording. There is no major changes in terms of the approaches. Yes, and then come the next session, the next chapter of the strategy. That's the implementation mechanics of the strategy. And what this part is talking about, and why this part is kind of separately, chaptered in the strategy, because it's very important not to only have the principles, approaches, goals, tasks, whatever you call it, but also how you implement it into life. As it proved for the years, if there is no really efficient, very well carved out instruments for the implementation, it's very difficult to put these things that are in the paper into the real practice. So here, what we try to do is to describe briefly what is the current structure, and then how is streamlined through the approaches of the strategy to make it more efficient and give the strategy the breathe the life into this strategy. And so what we have here is the actually basic approaches, how you have to put it into life, and we know that there will be one very important implementation document that will support the putting into force, into life the strategy. That's the annual plan that is already, we have already practice of having this plan, but I don't want to talk about the really quite a number of shortcomings of the plan that we discussed in detail last time. In order to prevent this, diluted character of this plan and the sometimes not so very meaningful strategic communication activities that fall into it, we try to provide the basic principles and the structure of the plan according to which those strategic communication activities should be worked down and put into coordinated manner into the plan. And then another very important document, this is an assessment document of the implementation of the plan. So this is kind of an assessment and then correction kind of a mechanism. So the flows, some possible betterings of of the action plan and the general policy that is very carried out and reflected into the implementation plan. And then we go to the main target audiences. As you see, according to our strategy, we are not talking here about very detailed groups, as the approach of the strategy is that these issues should be very, very carefully studied, and in this process, all the existing researches, polls, government internal researches which are not open to the public, and then we don't have the access towards it, so that we cannot come up in this version of the strategy with the more detailed, the groups, target groups that should fall within the strategy. So here we have the general approach of the auditoriums that we have to cover through this strategy. And the important thing that is here is on what three basic auditories we have to focus on. So, is this the guys who are supporting us most? Is the most skeptical countries? Or there is also the citizens not pro or not against, citizens that are not pro or against the membership, but that they have not yet made a decision on following this or that part. I want to remind you the comments of our Slovakian colleague, which has a very extensive knowledge and practical experience in this respect, and who made a very interesting comments during the last gathering of this group, saying that sometimes the resources are not limited, and also covering everything is sometimes not so useful. So their approach, for example, was to concentrate more not on the guys against, but on the guys who support it, to maintain and strengthen the support, and on the guys that are sitting on the fence. That they have not decided to jump this or that way. But this is something that we have to decide ourselves. I think this is a very useful looking at the issue in this very limited resources, and we have to decide our content. So there is no decision on this. So the government, I think, has to take the decision in this respect, and we are here, and I hope we follow closely the development of events in terms of the streamline of the strategy, and to discuss and come up with the final decision in this respect. I have my personal opinion, but I do not want to put this now on the table as we're discussing in general the new inputs in the strategy document, right? Yes, and then we have the potential partners and supporters on both national and international level, which are serving as kind of our allies, the channels through which we can push the implementation of this strategy. As I said, these are the guys on the national level or international level, and we just streamlined and added some of our potential partners and the supporters in this respect. And in the sixth chapter, we have the communication channels and the forums. And what I want to underline here is that I don't know, in your version it's underlined. I hope it is. Yes, it is. I mean, if you look at the final, so it's the sixth chapter I'm talking about, the final column of the chapter, which is in the margins. So why I kept this like that? So the government again has to make a decision whether it wants to put into force the kind of the mechanism that, for example, the European Union has in this respect, and there is a very efficient task force. Well, maybe not that efficient because of the very small funding, and unfortunately this year there was the suggestion to expand its budget to up to 1 million euros, but unfortunately this decision was not made. So it is doing what it can within this limited resources, and I am sure that it can be even more effective, but the guys are working, what resources they are, and they have this good approach to the European Union. They have this disinformation review and this disinformation digest, which are systematically reviewing the tendencies of the disinformation, propaganda, media tendencies in this respect, and through the different means, they are very active on the social media, and I think this is one of the should be one of the priorities when working with the society and people. So this social media, they're trying to debunk this myth, sometimes ridicule even them, and keep the connection with the major part of the population. So this is something to think about, and I think it would be very good to the government does this, and it could be done in different ways. It could be outsourced, as it's in the case of the European Union, to center a certain group which has very prominent experts and some experience in debunking these myths and providing the very, I would say, the sexy ways to promote the alternative,
Good word.
yeah, narratives in order to keep the really contact with the people. Because some of these, the anti-Western narratives, Russian-supported narratives, are not that intellectually bright, but they're very primitive, simple, and for the general people, it's very easily understood in Solo. So kind of a counter. Well, I won't call it counter propaganda, but the counter narrative, the real narratives, and the messages that will very easily go into the mind and the hearts of the general population. And then we have the this is very important. A very important part of the strategy, the chapter of the financing. Because if this issue is not settled, then we have a big problem. Nothing much has changed in the last draft here. So here we just are saying, as we did in the last draft, that it's very important to have the separate funding clause in order to secure some funding in the budget. And for the strategic communication activities that will be put in this communication action plan, there should be certain earmarked funding in the budgets of the different government agencies, especially also for this center. Because I know, okay, this is a very nice center, they have renovated a lot, but they do not have the sufficient funding to carry out their activities, and so is also with the different agencies. When I went around with my deep interviews with the agencies, we did the Atlantic Council research, they were very frank with me. I won't name the names, but not the agencies, but most of actually almost all of the agencies, the problem was not having the money. What they were struggling to do, to use some PR department money, and that was very badly reflected also in the structure of their activity, because they had to do something with general PR, because funding was earmarked only for that, and then they wanted to squeeze somehow the strategic communication activities into it, and in many of the cases they were not so successful, right? So, and then, so the new chapter, well, it's not a new chapter, but we have elaborated more. It's about the conclusion. what this document represents, what are its major parts, and how it's going to be implemented. So the basic small review and conclusion in this respect, and then as you know, the annex part is there will be agreement on the structure of the implementation plan. Then you can put the shadow of the kind of example of this structure of the plan as an addition as the annex to this document. So with this, let me finish the general overview of the changes and give floor back to the chairman in order to give floor then to our next presenter of the changes.
Thank you, Georgi. It's really very interesting and even impressive the work you've done so far. It's I think both the structure and content is well thought through, although it may become subject of further, as you mentioned, betterment or fine-tuning or whatever the further process will require from this document. But the work is really the product of this work is really a good basis for the discussion here and now. But of course, without European Union part of this document, the story would not be full and over. So I'm now glad to be able to pass the floor to Ivan H. Bazen, our expert on EU side of the project. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let me start with thanking the Michelazzi Foundation and also Slovakia Igor Foundation, as well as the European Union, the AA Facility Project, which is very much interested in the process, and we personally contributed to this strategy. I have 11 points here, which I would like to stress very quickly, because most part, I think, was already mentioned by my colleague here. Very hard on this issue. So first, the part of the European Union was a bit easier because there was a strategy already, which is still covering the period 2014-2017, and so we basically took most part of it and incorporated this into this current strategy. What is very remarkable is actually we changed the title and the name here, not integration, like EU membership. We actually, we were guided by the foreign policy strategy of Georgia, which covers period 2015-2018, and you can see there that it's EU membership, it's EU integration and NATO membership. So we decided to offer the government these times. So let's see what will be the decision. The third point is that we try to make it as short as possible, and I assume that after Georgian government reviews it, it will be shorter than we have here. Another point is about the internal and the external communication. So as it was in that strategy which I mentioned, we kept that to divide it internally and externally, because the messages should be different in both cases. And we also elaborated one common kind of umbrella message, and it would be kind of a message which should be used whenever new strategy or whenever new message will be developed in the future. What is also interesting and what I would like to stress is the target audience analysis. That was the recommendation from our side, and it's also in the strategy. Because I know that it takes much more resources, it takes more time, but in this case, doing the target audience analysis before communicating to the audience would help a lot to shape the message and to make it, to feed it to the community. I remember there was a long discussion about what should be the goal of this strategy. The idea was either just to spread the information or to work in order to secure, to contribute to secure the support of Georgia's EU membership. So in the strategy you can see that, and in the goal part, you can see that we decided to put the second option, meaning that ensuring support of Georgia's EU and NATO membership, internally and externally. It brings me to the point about the survey, which was mentioned here, and this is something very much needed because it was also in the strategy that I mentioned, 2014-2017, and it's something which is very much needed. And we assume that the survey should be carried out not only in Georgia, but you mentioned the kind of skeptical countries, which I will not name now, but we all know which we mean. I think that this kind of survey should be done in those countries in order to identify what are why these people or why these societies against further integration or membership of Georgia into over the European Union. Because I heard a lot of times foreign ambassadors saying that, oh yeah, we are fine, but actually it's our people who are against Georgia's NATO or EU membership. So let's see whether it's true or not. And based on that survey, let's elaborate the messages. Then I think that particular emphasis should be made on the action plan, and it should be as detailed as possible, with a very clear benchmarks and with tangible results. Let's put it this way, because it's not about the strategy. Whatever and however great strategy is tabled, a lot depends on the action plan. Because if it is not well formulated and if it is not clear enough, then we will get the report when saying that the minister means someone in his colleague somewhere in new member state that should be considered as also as a part of communication. So I think that this is something we should agree with. Then, unlike the strategy, and before we started drafting this document, I went through the reports which assess the implementation of the previous strategy, which mainly is funded by Express Management Institute. So there was very correct recommendations there about the values. That in that strategy there was no mentioning of, no stress on values, that sharing the values. So we took this into consideration, and you can see it in the strategy that it concentrates not only on the tangible results that Georgia's EU membership or NATO membership brings, but also the values which we share. And of course, it also stresses on anti-Western propaganda, which is far human, and then 2 points from my side. One is about the adoption of the action plan. Since it covers NATO and EU issues, and there is a State Commission on NATO integration and EU integration, we propose in the strategy that the action plans should be adopted at the joint session. So there should be the joint session, that's the proposal, NATO and EU integration State Commission, and then they will work together to adopt the action plans and then progress reports. I can't agree more what you already said about the budget lines. I think that's something very, very important, because this should be identified how much budget the line needs to get for the strategic communication, not for PR, because I think it's not equal to strategic communication, but particularly for these activities. And my last point would be about it's not here, but since the document is still in the process of boiling, the proposal was also that we take the topic from the association agreement, particularly from the sectoral part of it, and DCFTA part of it, and to put it here. There are like up to 30 topics, and we should be mentioning them here, because it will be easier than when the drafting of the action plan starts to kind of follow and to link the action plan to the topic to the activities. So and the one point which I know that there was a question mark. It was about the recent. Some people are questioning their methodology, etc., etc. So unfortunately, we only have this one, the figure about Georgia's NATO membership, and the one on Georgia's EU membership is missing because unfortunately the reliable one does not exist. So that's all from my side. Again, thank you so much, and I will be happy to answer questions on EU part, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we heard the thoughts of the experts on the current status of their respective parts of the document, and we already some of their thoughts were also substantiated by the arguments. The text was distributed prior to the session, so if not all of you, then most of you should be familiar with the text. So you in our understanding, should be familiar with this current text of the document, and we would be very much glad if you would provide us your comments, your observations. You may have some questions to the experts, or no less importantly, your comments and your remarks would be much appreciated. Please introduce yourself by letting me know, by raising your hand or otherwise, and let's proceed to the discussion. Please.
Thanks.
Yeah, please. We have a mic.
We need a mic.
Because
I'm not sure whether we need it. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
but we are recording.
Before the recording.
Okay. So you were
Yeah.
EU part was skipped. Hi. Hello. Yeah, I'm Hata, representing Georgia's Reform Associates. Of course, I appreciate the work of excellent experts and their contribution to developing very much needed strategy for Georgia's membership of NATO and the European Union. My question is rather general, but at the same time it's a concrete one as well. What's next? And this is a question which is directed to both, I mean, representative of the state, government, and those experts, dear friends, Georgi Uchalidze and Ivan Shibata. So what's next? What's our best guess we should be moving, not the best guess, but the best way we should be moving forward? What to expect? What are the further procedures? It was mentioned by Rita that the government which was reviewing this draft. And then it was, if I caught it correctly, it was one who said that then the strategy will become even shorter. I don't understand why it should become even shorter. I expect it to become even larger, because there should be, contributions by different state agencies, that way. So without further ado, let me ask you first this question, and then I have some concrete as well remarks.
Thank you for your question. I'll take this one. Maybe experts will join as well. Of course, the line ministers are also working simultaneously on this issue. We're also reviewing the document and hearing out their comments, because they're the actual... Based on this, of course, this is the basis what we were provided by the experts. The reason is that they're the actual implementers of these documents, the line ministers. So without their input, that is unimaginary to adopt this document. So further steps, the way we see it together with the experts, is that we join these comments that we received today and that we also have from the line ministers, and our office will come up together with the experts with the final document. Because today we mentioned so many issues like the title, starting from the title of the document. Okay, we believe it should be about membership communication, but does it mean that all the line ministers agree on that, and is the government ready to approve this point? So the work is ongoing. It's not the final meeting, and it's not the final version that we will agree today. So then the procedure will continue by the adoption of the strategy, and then by the adoption of the action plans.
So the goal is to adopt the strategy, and then of course to develop action plans. Can we tentatively say when the strategy can be adopted?
The goal.
And action plans subsequently developed?
The goal is as soon as possible, because right now we have suspended everything related to the EU communication strategy, because normally we would have adopted an action plan for this year already. But the fact that we're uniting these two strategies means that now we're doing nothing in terms of officially on a documentation level. So we aim to do it as soon as possible with your active involvement of it.
So as soon as possible, by the end of spring, before summer.
I don't think I will be telling you the truth if I mention concrete dates right now.
Right.
If I may, this was a very good question. Well, project-wise, I mean, this process has its limits, because the project comes to its end by the end of this month. So in our vision, the draft with the inputs of the civil society should be ready before the project ends. And it's then, of course, up to the government to take it on board in whatever shape and whatever content, whatever structure the government may deem it helpful and necessary. But how long this process will last, of course, it's early to judge, and it's impossible to answer this question. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, what next? On the AA facility, the EU-funded project, it's planned that after we have the draft, the draft which Veka mentioned, there will be the meeting for the presenting the final draft. Of course, I mean, then also gathering your feedback. So next is another meeting when the document after government's review will be presented and discussed. But I don't have any dates. It very much depends when we get the final.
You have some other questions or not? All right. Okay, please.
Hello, my name is Mihail Mizeshuk from Regional Center for Strategic Studies. I have three questions. One is about the NATO issue and NATO plan. One mentioned that in EU part, you included the association agreement chapter to make the communication more reliable and more focused on the practical issues. You mentioned the
It's not in the document.
sector. Did you have a similar approach on the NATO? I see it's more complicated because it would have not that detailed document as we have in a few association. This is one question. Second question is to you. Regarding, you mentioned the plebiscite. Yeah, Georgians may 77% support. Are you expecting another plebiscite to put in your this number on the EU membership issue? And the question from the issue of the next, what's the next? I totally agree with the approach when we have communication strategy for NATO and for EU membership or integration to one document. To understand that there is the same process of the country's development. You have the economic development, democracy development, and security development is one. But do you expect some obstacles this one? The government will present partner this communication protocol. One we have the two different partners. One has NATO and then EU. Thank you.
Thank you for some detailed questions. Regarding the detailed, issue chapter-wise approach, we, even in the EU part, one mission is not in the strategy. So we decided for the sake of the clarity and not too much detailization, not to put this. But the general, because also one of the requests was that to make the strategy as compact and short and precise as possible. So that would enlarge the document, and at the same time as we have the other documents where there is the detailed approach and these documents. Sometimes if you look at the action plans, these are more the documents which elaborate in more detailed ways, and then as you know, for the implementation of the strategy, we will have the annual implementation plans, and within this annual implementation plans, according to the approaches of the strategy, there will be certain programs which will target certain issues, and there actually stemming from the necessities of the concrete ER and the situation in terms of the propaganda, the right accents and the right focuses annually will be made according to those cooperation or obligation implementation focuses that will be in general in the government and stemming from the changing environment, because this is the document addressing the communication needs. So it is an evolving process, and here we want to be more general and then more precise in the implementation plans, which are going to be changed every year, stemming from the flow of the events, the change in the narratives, anti-Western narratives, and so far and so on. I hope I answered.
Well, I frankly, I don't think that there will be a plebiscite in coming days or weeks whenever the document is adopted. So I doubt that there will be any figures here when it comes to, I don't know, I mean, the reliable one like plebiscite we have. But let's see, I mean, not in coming days, coming weeks, but maybe during the life cycle of the document there might be something. Actually, there's very interesting initiative from the push by civil society organizations in the new constitution of Georgia to be